let me move to the prime time report. This one, okay, I, I, this one's a heavy one for us. Women are carrying the losses. Last month, 91,000 women walked out of the labor force while 10,000 men joined it. And during 2025, men entered the labor market at 3 times the rate of women. What's happening here? And Black women are getting hit the hardest. Unemployment for Black women rose to 7.3% by the end of 2025, and that's up from about 5% at the start of the year, even as overall employment stayed lower. Child care now averages over $13,000 a year for one child. And for 2 kids, that's more than the typical rent in most places. For a lot of women, especially mothers, the paycheck simply doesn't cover the cost of going to work. Now, and the other thing is that the good jobs are being cut. Over 300,000 federal jobs disappeared last year. They went away. And these are roles where women, and Black women especially, are heavily represented, and where pay and benefits tend to be more equitable in that sector. And when these go, women lose some of the few workplaces that were even trying to play fair with us. And I see that companies are quietly deprioritizing women. Some companies. Only about half of companies say advancing women is a priority. 1 in 5 says it's low or no priority at all, and that rises to nearly 1 in 3 when you look at women of color. And those statistics are not fun at all. Women who work remotely are also promoted less than men who work remotely. And McKinsey found that even when they're working from home at the same rate. Hey, listen, and it's my view is that this isn't just bad for women, it's bad for the economy. Women are half the population. When they're pushed out of work, the GDP and tax revenues shrink. And the World Bank gave an estimate that closing those gender gaps at work and entrepreneurship could lift global GPD by around 20%. That's significant. And so what this report and all of these statistics are telling us, bottom line, is that women aren't opting out because they're less ambitious. The system is making it harder and less rational to stay in, especially for Black women and women in caregiving years. And the opportunity now is for experienced women, particularly over 50, to step outside that broken system. I hope you hear me, sisters, and get paid for your brain and results, not just your hours. That's the prime time report for today. And it's a heavy one, so that's why I wanted to talk to you about it and to let you know what the stats are really saying. And so when we think about that last month, 91,000 women walked out the workplace, not retired, not sitting around waiting for a call back. They left. And a huge share of them were in their prime working years, women with serious experience, the ones companies were supposed to see as the safe bet. So if you're one of the women who has stepped away, especially over 50, this video is for you. Because here's what no one is saying out loud. You didn't just leave a job. You left the only system you were ever taught for turning your experience into income. For decades, the system was simple. You apply, you get hired, you show up, you get paid. That system worked until it didn't. Now you're out. And even though you have decades of experience, no one explained what you're supposed to do next. I've led organizations, raised over $100 million. I've been in the rooms where these decisions get made. And I can tell you exactly what happens when companies and organizations lose people like you. They do struggle. Decisions slow down, projects stall, people don't know what to do. And then some of them do something interesting. They don't rush to fill your position. They turn around and pay outsiders, consultants, contractors, advisors to solve the same problems you used to handle inside. But here's the problem. Many women who leave, especially over 50, try to go back into the same kind of job, same system, same rules, same expectations. So today, I want to show you the 3 mistakes that keep women circling instead of moving forward and what really works now. But before I name the mistakes, you need to really understand why so many of us fall into them. We go back to the same kind of job for very understandable reasons. It's what we know. It feels safest. And the whole system is set up to funnel us right back there. Here's what's really happening. First, most of us were only taught one model: get a job, get a paycheck. Most women were never given a really clear, practical path to turn their experience into income outside of a job. So the brain naturally defaults to, I just need another job. Second, the money pressure is real. When income drops, leaves, the fastest, most familiar thing to do, most familiar move is to update your resume, get on job boards, and chase another role, even if it looks like the one that burned us out. And everything around you reinforces that move. Recruiters, career sites, and even well-meaning friends all talk about the next job, not a different way of working. I remember when I was offered another United Way executive position after 26 years of being in the United Way system, doing an historic merger of United Ways, leading the organization, and everyone, but I was burned out. And I said, I got to get another job. And everyone was giving me the leads, all pointing to another United Way executive gig. Okay. And for women over 50, the other thing that happens is that age bias makes it even messier. You're told you're too old to try something new, but you also hit discrimination when you apply for traditional roles. That's how we end up in this loop of applying, waiting, doubting, and shrinking our ambitions. And that's why so many women feel stuck, not because there's something wrong with us. Hear me, not because there's something wrong with us, but because we were only ever given one playbook. And when we follow that same playbook, we keep getting the same result. And that's where the first mistake shows up. Mistake number one, using an employee lens instead of positioning yourself as a solution. Most women leave and do the most logical thing. They update their resume, they look at job boards, they apply for roles that look a lot like the job they just left. We said that. Okay, I said that. Happened to me. It makes sense. That's how we were taught to work, to do it. But here's the issue. That approach, and it's good, it worked, but that approach is built for employees, W-2s, and you're no longer operating inside an employee system if you're one of them 91,000 women who's left. Something has changed too about how companies, get the work done. They still need people who can solve problems, but they've lost a huge amount of that capacity when hundreds of thousands of experienced women walked out. Now, I believe now they stuck. Decisions take longer time. They take forever. Projects get messy. Teams don't know what to do. But here's the part that we don't focus enough on, and we miss it. Companies, organizations will still pay to fix those problems. They just won't necessarily hire another full-time employee to do it. So here's the shift. Instead of marketing yourself like an employee, you position yourself like a solution. Pick one problem you're really good at solving, just one. Maybe it's you step in when teams can't make a decision. Maybe you fix things when projects get stuck. Maybe you're that innovative, forward-thinking person, and you see things, far ahead. You're good at pattern recognition. Maybe you help different departments work together. You're an expert in collaboration and coordination. Put it in one sentence. I help companies win, and then whatever that specific problem is, teams don't work together, departments aren't collaborating, whatever it is. But put that problem in and say that's what you help solve. I help companies win, departments don't collaborate. Whatever that happens to be. And so when you talk to a company, it's not about sending the resume. You say, I notice you're dealing with departments that don't talk to each other or don't collaborate, staff members who don't communicate regularly, whatever it is. I've solved this before. Want to talk? That's it. You're not asking for a job. You're offering to fix something they can't fix on their own. Companies and organizations pay for that. But knowing what problem you solve is only the first step. And figuring that out, if you ever need help with that, just comment in the chat and let me know, and we'll solve it together. But you're trying to figure out the problem, and then we hit the next wall, which is mistake number 2, and that's charging for time instead of charging for the result. Okay. You talk to a company, they're interested, and then they ask, what's your hourly rate? That's where most women freeze, because no one taught you how to answer that. I know that's one of the big issues that I faced when I transitioned from running nonprofits, leading in the nonprofit arena, being an employee, getting that check every 2 weeks, to running my own business. And it was all about, well, what do I charge? And so, if you say $50 an hour, it feels too low. If you say $200 an hour, you worry that they'll think you're too expensive. Here's what you need to understand. When you were an employee, the company paid you for being there. They paid you to show up Monday through Friday. They paid for your time. That's not what they're paying for now. Now they're paying for you to fix something. And fixing something has a value that has nothing to do with how many hours it takes you. Okay? So, again, sisters, I'm talking to those of you who left the workplace and you're trying to figure out what to do next. And one of the options that we don't talk a lot about is this positioning yourself not as an employee, whether you decide to start your own business, become an advisor, or go back into the workplace, how you position yourself. So, but let me give you an example. Say a company, back to our example of a company that has two departments that don't work well together. And, the projects are being stuck. People ain't, batting their eyes. They ain't working well. Deadlines are being missed. You know what I'm talking about? People are frustrated. So here you step in. You figure out exactly what's happening. You get the right people in the room and you fix it in 3 weeks. What's that worth to the company? It's not worth an hourly rate. It's worth whatever it costs them when work doesn't move. So here's the shift. Stop thinking about how long something takes you. Start thinking about what it's worth when it's fixed. Okay? Different mindset. So instead of quoting an hourly rate, and again, this takes practice to get into. We're so used to, the traditional way of things, but the world has changed. So we have to start thinking outside of the box and leveraging our experience. So instead of thinking about that hourly rate, there's a simple structure you can use. First, there's a short paid diagnostic to understand what's happening. Second, you might want to charge a project fee to fix the problem. Or, if needed, you could provide a short advisory window where you could work with a company to make sure that things stick. So that's a framework you can use when you're working with a company or an organization and you're pitching, positioning yourself, saying, I can come in and diagnose the problem with you, give you some techniques, and stay with you to make sure everything works. But throughout the process, you're not billing time. You're charging for the outcome. Okay, that's what I want you to hear. And here's the truth. That same company that wouldn't pay you $150,000 a year to stay as a full-time employee will often pay far more for short, focused, strategic help that actually solves the problem. Now, that's the truth of the matter. Okay, so now you know what problem you solve. You've thought about it. You know how to charge for fixing it. But here's where many women, even the most experienced, hit the wall. And that is, stay with me now. Now, this is especially for you out there, women. If you're in that 91,000 women or that more than 400,000 women in 2025 who left the workplace, this mistake is trying to get back inside instead of working from the outside or considering those options. After all, many women think the answer is to get back inside. I'm mad at you. Trust. But I'm asking you to think about thinking about something other than, I just need another job. I need to get hired somewhere else. Here's the problem with that. Inside a company, your experience has to compete with them office politics. About 2/3 of workers over 50 say they've been ignored, sidelined, or pushed aside at work. That's what happens when you're inside. But when you work from the outside, hear me, when you're brought in as an advisor to solve a specific problem, your experience competes only with results. Nobody cares about politics when the project is failing and you're the one who can fix it. So here's what this looks like. Instead of working for one company full-time, consider working with several companies part-time. Now, some people call this fractional work. Some in my day called it project-based work or consulting. And if you need some help in trying to figure out what's best for you, comment strategy and we'll talk. But here's what it really means. You step in when a company needs your expertise. You solve the problem, then you step out. You're giving them a shortcut they can't create on their own. And in business, people pay more for shortcuts than they do for the long way around. They're paying you for the years it took you to learn how to fix their mess quickly. Okay? That's what you're getting paid for. That's what you'd be getting paid for. And here's the part most of us don't recognize, that these things I'm talking about are the fastest growing ways experienced women are working now. Not because they're retiring, but because it works. So let me be straight with you. Most women didn't leave because they wanted to. Maybe you had to quit to take care of someone and the company wouldn't work with you. Maybe you were laid off. Maybe you were burned out. Maybe you just couldn't deal with the office politics one more day or the microaggressions. Whatever the reason, you out now. And nobody handed you a playbook for what comes next. So here's what I want you to hear. The expertise you built didn't disappear just because you're no longer showing up at an office. But you can't use it the old way. You have to talk about what you do differently, not as a job title, but as a problem you solve. You have to charge based upon what you fix, not how many hours it takes. And you have to work as an outside advisor, not an inside employee. And so when those 91,000 women left last month, and one of them might be you, and when hundreds of thousands of experienced women have left over the last few years, the brains of those companies, and I believe the heart and soul as well, walked out the door. And don't get it twisted. Many of those companies are now struggling because they don't know how to do what you used to do. So position yourself. You're not asking for a job anymore. You're offering the map out of trouble. And when you have the map, companies pay for it. That's what's working. And that's exactly what I help you with in Let's Talk Strategy, because in 90 minutes, we get clear on the problem you solve, how to talk about it, and what your next 90 days should look like so you stop guessing, so you can articulate your experience and talk about the problem that you solve very clearly, and you walk away with a plan. Most women spend months spinning about what they're going to do next. But when we talk, you'll be able to make your next move by Monday. You'll be able to see those kinds of results and stop second guessing. So if you're out of the workplace and you're tired of not knowing what comes next or what to do, let's talk. DM me strategy in the comments, and the link and the QR code are somewhere around here. But what I want you to do is to understand that if you're out of the workplace, you're not out of your wisdom, your brains, your experience, your problem solving ability. You still got it. And let's work together so that you can identify it, articulate it, and move with clarity. So that's what I wanted to talk to you about today. Let me say hello to those of you I haven't. And we've got a question from Sharon. How do you find the opportunities? Okay. So Sharon, thank you very much for that question. Hope you're doing good. I'm not sure what opportunities you're talking about, but if you're talking about the opportunities for what's next in terms of employment, revenue, etc. Okay, let me assume those are the opportunities you're talking about. The first way to find opportunities is to discover, understand, be real critically clear on your strengths. That's the first way. Because once you evaluate and understand and can write down and identify that you're a master in collaboration, that you're an expert in communication, that no one can manage a team like you, like you're a great problem solver. Whatever those strengths are, because you have them, they are your assets. And you've been working years to define and develop them, but may not have stopped for a moment to truly assess them. So that's the first way. That's the first step. And why is that the first step? Because secondly, you're going to take those strengths and then look for the matches to your strengths. And that's how you're going to position yourself. The other thing is doing the research. Research really matters. It does. And using AI can help you research and explore and see the possibilities. So finding opportunities through research helps and is a very critical move. And then the third thing to find the opportunities is to ask your network. And I believe in the first way to network is what I call sideways. And that's the people you know who are right there. Listen, you've been working with people, people who know, like, and trust you. Ask them, what are the possibilities? What are the opportunities? What can they refer you to? Who do they know? But see, you're doing this because you understand your strengths and your assets, okay? And you've done some looking around to see what it is that you might like, so that when you talk to people who know, like, and trust you, who are right there next to you, you can be very specific about what to say. And Sharon, again, if you need any help in doing any of this, just comment strategy and we'll talk. Okay. What other questions do we have? Let me make sure that I say hello to everyone who's joined us. So hello there. Yeah, Dr. Trin, you made it on YouTube. Terrific. Thank you. I love it. I love it. David. Oh my gosh, how are you? My friend David. David and I were in a class, several classes together with Shanae. And so it's so good to see you. I'm glad you're watching me on LinkedIn. No issues? Okay. No issues yet, right? Okay. Sharon is okay. Sharon on LinkedIn too. What a delight. What a delight seeing. Hey, Clue Girl, where you been, Clue Girl? Okay. Please. So good to see you. Dr. Trin, you're right. It does feel safe to remain, even if you're not appreciated. It really feels safe to stay there or go back to a similar situation. I get it. The world is working differently now. And it's so important to we got to be stepping out and doing things a little different and just maybe put your toe out, just experiment with it. And again, if you want to have a conversation with me about that, just comment strategy. So that's Dr. Trin is commenting again that that's so good. Instead of marketing yourself like an employee, promote yourself like a solution. And I think that's key, no matter what you do, where you are, what kind of position you're in, whether you've just left the workforce, whether you're thinking about making a career change. Whatever it is you do, market yourself, position yourself as the solution, because you are. But sometimes it's difficult trying to figure out what does that mean and how can you do it. That's why we need to talk if you're having any of those questions about that. Let's talk. Okay, great, David. All right, so I'm looking for questions on YouTube. Hey, Yolanda and Brenda. Hey, Tani, Harry, how y'all doing? So good to see you. Well, I think we're out of time. But again, I would love to help you in a Let's Talk Strategy session, 90 minutes. We can figure out what the decision means, what you need to do, put a game plan together that you can implement right away. Comment strategy if you'd like to work with me. See you next week, next Wednesday, 9 o'clock a.m. Bye.